Before we get into names, rumors, or reactions, you need to understand why this pregnancy announcement landed the way it did. Because on the surface, it looks like a routine political family update, but privately, it triggered a chain reaction that people close to the situation say has been building for months and finally reached a breaking point. When Usha Vance and JD Vance announced they were expecting another child, the public response was predictable. Congratulations, headlines about history being made, and a general narrative of stability and forward momentum. But according to multiple sources familiar with what was happening behind the scenes, there was one person who experienced that announcement not as happy news, but as a personal and emotional shock that completely altered her internal reality. That person was Erika Kirk. And what's important here is that this was not an impulsive reaction or a momentary emotional response. People close to Erika say this pregnancy announcement hit something far deeper because it directly collided with a belief system she had quietly built around where her life was heading and who she believed would be part of it. For months following her husband's death, those close to Erika describe her as living in a strange dual state, publicly composed, driven, and purposeful, but privately still untethered, searching for meaning, and deeply focused on what her future identity would look like beyond grief. According to insiders, she wasn't imagining a quiet withdrawal from public life. She was imagining relevance, influence, and a continuation of her position within powerful political circles. Sources say that during this period, her relationship with JD Vance took on an outsized emotional significance in her mind, particularly after that now viral public moment where the two were seen embracing. While many dismissed it as an awkward or overly familiar interaction, people close to Erika say she interpreted the attention around it very differently. Rather than seeing the backlash as criticism, she reportedly viewed the reaction as validation that others could sense a deeper connection she believed already existed. From that point on, insiders say her language shifted in private conversations. She allegedly spoke about JD less as a distant political ally and more as someone emotionally important, someone she felt understood her grief, her ambition, and her sense of destiny. This wasn't something she announced publicly or acted on overtly, but according to people who were around her regularly, it became a quiet assumption shaping how she interpreted events and interactions. At the same time, Erika's fixation on pregnancy intensified in a way that went far beyond the comments she had already made publicly. While she had openly shared that she and her late husband wanted 4 children, and that she had prayed to be pregnant after his death, sources say those thoughts didn't fade with time. Instead, pregnancy became symbolic for her, representing permanence, legacy, and emotional security at a moment when her life felt structurally unstable. According to insiders, Erika did not view pregnancy as just another chapter, but as something that could anchor her future, define her next role, and solidify her place in a world she felt was rapidly shifting beneath her. Privately, people say she believed that motherhood again, under the right circumstances, would represent continuity rather than loss, which is why the pregnancy announcement from Usha and JD landed the way it did. Sources say Erika learned about the announcement the same way the public did, and the immediate reaction was not explosive anger, but stunned disbelief. People close to her describe a period of near silence where she repeatedly reread the announcement, seemingly trying to reconcile it with what she believed had been unfolding privately. That disbelief eventually gave way to something heavier, the realization that the future she had been imagining was not just unlikely, but impossible. According to multiple insiders, this is when Erika's emotional state began to deteriorate rapidly. The announcement didn't just confirm that JD and Usha were still together, it confirmed that they were actively moving forward, expanding their family, and closing the door on any ambiguity that might have existed. In Erika's mind, this wasn't simply a life update, it was a definitive statement. Sources say she began framing the pregnancy as calculated rather than organic, interpreting the timing as intentional rather than coincidental. Whether that interpretation is fair is irrelevant. What matters is that she believed it. According to those close to her, she felt erased, embarrassed, and emotionally exposed by the speed with which her perceived narrative collapsed. This emotional collapse reportedly manifested not in public outbursts, but in withdrawal, rumination, and fixation. Insiders describe her replaying past conversations, reassessing moments she once found meaningful, and questioning whether she had misread everything from the beginning. Some say she became convinced she had been emotionally led on, while others say she struggled with the humiliation of realizing she had built an internal story that no one else seemed to recognize. It is within this emotional context that talk of receipts began circulating privately. According to sources, Erika has told people close to her that she possesses messages, exchanges, or documentation that she believes support her interpretation of events. However, none of this material has been shown publicly, and no evidence has been released to substantiate any claims of a romantic or inappropriate relationship. Observers close to the situation suggest that this discrepancy between the severity of her claims and the absence of public proof indicates that this is less about exposure and more about control. When someone feels emotionally powerless, the belief that they possess leverage can become a psychological lifeline, even if it's never acted upon. Meanwhile, the response from Usha and JD has been conspicuously absent. There have been no statements addressing rumors, no visible concern, and no attempt to control the narrative beyond the pregnancy announcement itself. According to multiple political observers, this silence is not accidental. It suggests confidence, stability, and a lack of perceived threat. And according to insiders, that silence has only deepened Erika's emotional unraveling, because the absence of reaction reinforces the idea that her perceived role in this situation was never acknowledged or recognized by the people at the center of it. What made this situation even more destabilizing for people close to Erika was that the pregnancy announcement didn't happen in a vacuum. It landed after weeks of online speculation, whispered conversations, and quietly circulating rumors that had already primed her to believe the ground beneath Usha and JD's marriage was shifting. And the flashpoint for all of that speculation was the now infamous hug. When Erika Kirk and JD Vance shared that public embrace, the internet didn't just react, it paused. People slowed the footage down, replayed it, analyzed body language, and compared it to how JD interacted with others on that same stage. What stood out to many observers wasn't just the physical closeness, but the confidence with which Erika leaned in, as if the familiarity itself was unquestioned. According to sources close to the situation, that moment carried far more weight behind the scenes than anyone initially realized. Erika didn't view it as a spontaneous or misinterpreted gesture. People close to her say she believed it symbolized something that had already been developing privately, and that the public nature of the hug felt less like a mistake and more like a confirmation that whatever connection existed could no longer be hidden. What intensified that belief was the aftermath. While online commentary exploded, Erika never moved quickly to shut the speculation down. There was no immediate apology, no firm clarification, and no attempt to draw clear boundaries publicly. Instead, she downplayed the reaction, framing the moment as innocent, even as the conversation around it continued to grow louder. Insiders say that decision mattered. In private, it reinforced her internal narrative that the situation was being misunderstood rather than misread. She reportedly believed that people were reacting strongly because they were sensing something authentic, not because they were fabricating drama. At the same time, entirely separate rumors were beginning to circulate about Usha Vance and JD's marriage. Rumors that, while never confirmed, took on a life of their own online. Commentators began pointing to moments where the two appeared distant at public events, noting changes in body language, reduced interaction, and what some interpreted as emotional detachment. Sources say those rumors reached Erika quickly and lodged themselves deeply in her thinking. She reportedly interpreted them not as baseless gossip, but as signals that something was genuinely wrong behind the scenes. When images circulated showing Usha appearing withdrawn or exhausted, Erika allegedly saw confirmation rather than coincidence. The speculation intensified further when JD publicly spoke about faith in ways that some interpreted as misaligned with Usha's background, and when observers noted that Usha appeared without her wedding ring at certain appearances. While none of these moments independently proved anything, together they formed a narrative that many online seized on, and according to insiders, Erika absorbed fully. People close to her say she began viewing herself not as an outsider looking in, but as someone witnessing a marriage unravel in real time. In her mind, the hug wasn't inappropriate, it was premature. The attention wasn't scandalous, it was early. And the rumors weren't invasive, they were foreshadowing. This is why the pregnancy announcement hit with such force, because in a single moment, it dismantled every assumption she had been operating under. Pregnancy doesn't just signal togetherness, it signals planning, commitment, and intimacy that extends into the future. It suggests conversations that happened months earlier, decisions made privately, and a level of unity that directly contradicts the idea of a marriage on the brink of collapse. Ultimately, this story is not about a confirmed affair or a political scandal. It is about grief, projection, and what happens when emotional vulnerability intersects with power and proximity. It's about how easily internal narratives can become indistinguishable from reality, especially during periods of profound loss. Right now, Erika is left with her interpretation, her feelings, and a story that exists largely in private conversations rather than public confirmation. And on the other side, Usha and JD are moving forward, quietly, publicly united, and entirely uninterested in engaging with speculation. And sometimes, the most definitive answer you can receive is silence. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.